Top 5 teams who could shake up the draft. And not all these teams have picks in the top 5. 3 of them do currently. 1 of them could, and 2 of them could by the end of the evening. But number 5, the Lions, they have picks at 6 and 18. They had their first positive growth in a long time in Detroit. And it's the NFL. You got to strike while the iron's hot. There's a lot of heat around Dan Campbell for, giving this team some juice for the first time ever. Might as well, maybe make something happen with those picks. It's not just 6 and 18, but they could shake up the draft in later rounds too, because they do have a lot of picks. But 6 and 18, I think they could really make something happen. Would not be surprised to see them take a quarterback, especially if one of them falls. Like if they take say a defense, say they take Jalen Carter at number 6 if he falls there. They've got Jalen Carter at number 6. If somebody's sitting around at, 14 or 15, one of those quarterbacks like Will Levis, maybe you want to get up in front of Washington to go get him. Yeah, maybe they do that too.
How about a wide receiver to replace the guy who's suspended for a third of the season?
Yeah, I don't know. If I were them, I would not draft wide receivers in the first round. It's not been a good thing.
Jordan Addison, and that'd be great, but you got much more pressing needs, I think, than that.
Yeah.
So
they are a team with that seems like they're on the up, but Campbell's done there.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4, the Eagles. They're at 10 and at 30. They could package those and move up. Here's, I think, the Cowboy fans' great fear. Jeff Kavanaugh put this in my brain. And Jeff Kavanaugh, if you're a Cowboys fan, go to his YouTube channel, watch him. He's really good at a lot of things. I really enjoyed Jeff's stuff. But he did put this in my head of, okay, look, everybody talking about Bijan, but if they've got 10 and 30 and the Texans are not going to draft Will Anderson, that, to me, is an Eagles move right there of packaging 10 and 30 and moving up to get Will Anderson to say he falls to 6, and you've got the Lions there who may, they'd probably take him. But say he falls to 5. Well, the Seahawks, they may not, there's a lot of things you can do there. So I think the Eagles, they're at 10, and then having that one at 30, which could also be them loading up on later draft picks for somebody wanting to come back in and say draft Hendon Hooker. At the end of the first round.
Yeah, I really thought you were going to say Bijan at 10. I mentioned the Austin Eckler poisoning of my Twitter feed earlier. That's the next thing I need to get purged of is the Bijan Eagles talk, and whether it's legitimate or not, but I've just seen so much of it. And so that's where I thought you were going with that. I know that would ruffle some Cowboys feathers as well, potentially, but that would be interesting to see them take him 10. That's pretty high. Even if he's a great player. But, yeah, the Eagles have a lot of cards on the table that they could deal, and very interesting given, they're right there on that cusp of, Super Bowl championships, so they're going to be out there hunting for sure.
Yeah.
They lost a lot on defense, right?
Yeah.
The offensive line's still pretty much intact?
Yeah. Their offensive line, but here's the thing. They've got older guys on that line, so there are good players that are, they're going to, Howie Roseman's really good at his job. He is really good at his job, and you've given the guy coming off the Super Bowl runner-up 2 picks in the first round.
No, that's how you keep winning. And you had one that because of a trade, you ended up getting an extra pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Numbers 3 and 2 are kind of entwined right here, but we'll talk about the Tennessee Titans right now. Ryan Tannehill expiring deal. Derrick Henry expiring deal. Now, I could see Derrick Henry getting traded, not Ryan Tannehill, based on the fact that you're in a good situation if you can trade up to 3, which is rumored right now. Now, part of that would be they might trade 3 for 11 and also get DeAndre Hopkins. Now, while you say that might be out of whack, DeAndre Hopkins would be a total salary dump by the Cardinals, so that, makes it okay for them. And maybe there's some other draft picks on the end of that. And I don't know if the Titans want to do the Julio Jones thing all over again with DeAndre Hopkins, but if they could go up and get C.J. Stroud and have him sit for a year behind Tannehill or be ready when Tannehill seemingly inevitably gets hurt this year to play, I think that's a good deal. I don't know why all of a sudden all this smoke's out there on C.J. Stroud. I've watched C.J. Stroud play a ton at Ohio State. I don't care about the S2 cognition test or anything else that's gone on. That dude ripped it up as much as anybody in this year's draft did. And yes, he had great talent around him. Well, he's going to have NFL talent around him there. I think he's got a huge upside. If I'm the Titans and I can get the 3 and take C.J. Stroud, I am gosh darn doing it.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it'd be a good move for them.
I think C.J. Stroud's – here's the big knock on C.J. Stroud. He's so good, he's boring. Like, what have you seen him do terribly? Nothing. What have you seen him – like, he's not, like, a super fast – like, he's not Anthony Richardson, who looks like he was built in a lab when you were at the – out there doing drills and shorts. But, I mean, all the guy did was win. He lost, like, 3 games this whole time, 4 games in college. Come on.
At a program that is among the top 2 to 4 of the elite blue bloods in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, the Cardinals. They don't need to really be at number 3. They need to load up on picks. They need to clear salary. This is, by many accounts, one of the most, I'll call it not worst, but wonky rosters in the NFL right now. They've got to balance some things out. They just paid Kyler Murray a bunch, which means they need to save some more money. I think trading out of that pick at number 3 behooves them greatly. If not, stay there and draft Will Anderson, and that's fine. But ultimately, I think you've got to, if you're the Cardinals, you need to maybe even move down twice. Like if you say you move down from 3 to 11, maybe move down from 11 to 18. I don't know. Like that to me, just load up on as many picks as you can, save as much money as you can, try to build some talent. Jonathan Gannon's the new coach there. They have to build around Kyler Murray for the long term. I think you're going to need as many players as you can to do that.
Yeah, they're in a weird spot. I'm tired of hearing about Kyler, and I love Kyler Murray, and he's a great player and all that, but I'm so sick. I want to hear about him when he's winning football games. Mm-hmm. Like this whole off the field and just the disagreements or whatever weird tension there has been with the Cardinals. I know some of that dissipated with Kingsbury being gone and all that, but Kyler's just been talked about for all the wrong reasons. It feels like or a lot of the wrong reasons for the last year. But, yeah, I mean, they're in a weird spot. I'm just different in that the biggest story around the Cardinals to me was their debut of their new uniforms a week or so ago. Did you see those?
Yeah.
They were fine. They were very much an Ohio State ripoff. I don't know if everybody saw them. I never saw them. They were a pretty blatant Ohio State ripoff, but somebody at Nike probably got paid handsomely to design them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, go check them out if you haven't already. Not really missing anything, but – yeah, I mean, they definitely are in a spot, like you said, where they need to make something happen, so I could see that.
Yeah, they absolutely, to steal a Seinfeld reference, they ripped off a Ziggy with those uniforms. Yeah. Elaine did a cartoon, and it was just a Ziggy that she had ripped off.
It's very much an Ohio State copy in some ways.
Yeah, number 1, the Texans. If they do not draft a quarterback at number 2, this thing's going to get wild, especially if nobody's traded up to the Cardinals for number 3. Right? So if they draft, say, Tyree Wilson, which is where the heat is right now on that, that's what John McClain thinks. And I trust him on the Texans more than anybody, maybe even Nick Caserio. He might know more than their actual GM. But if they don't draft a quarterback and nobody's traded up with Arizona yet, which I think is probably Arizona's dream scenario, then open the floodgates because people are going to come for that.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans are in a nice spot. They could very well stay where they are and be fine, or trade down and be fine, and trade back up and be fine. I think the world's their oyster in so many ways outside of the number 1 overall pick, but they have to know by now what that's going to be, Bryce Young. So I'm sure they've ran through 1,000 scenarios in their head, and they'll get I probably received a few dozen phone calls at this point because there does seem to be an appetite for some teams to move around. So they're sitting pretty. I'd be excited if I'm a Texans fan, but also a little bit leery as well. And I'm fascinated to see how D'Amico Ryans goes about this.
All right, Paul, thank you very much.